Hello, my creative collective. This is your daily creative reading for April 11th, and I'm so excited that you're here. This is Into the Infinite. I'm Charlie, and I'm grateful that you're here. So let's dig in, shall we? I would like to invite the angels, my spirit guides, protectors, teachers, and their healing energy to this space, and I ask that it is a safe space that allows for the fullest expression of our light, humanity, ascension, and healing. All right, let's dive in, shall we? Okay, you know the drill. We do our hero's journey dream oracle. I might change that up soon, but for now, this is the sweet spot, my friends. The sweet spot, but also the growing spot. Spirit, can I get messages for April 11th for my creative collective, please? Thank you so much. And in the interest of making sure we have a fire inside us and not outside, let's do this here. And rearranging this here. Making some space, just making some space. Make the grade with flying colors. Remember, you signed up for this. Whoa. Remember, you signed up for this. Some learning happening I'm getting. Me time. Enjoy your own company. Yeah. I feel like that's a really great antidote to overwhelm. And from the bottom here. Trip the light. Fantastic. Oh, I love this card so much. Trip the light. Fantastic. Dance with the universe. And that's this one right here. It's such a beautiful card. And it just reminds me of like the kind of growing up of your inner child, right? This maturation process of your inner child. And, you know, through dancing with light. And I almost get this progression here. And this could relate to today or part of this week's journey for you. But I'm seeing that there's almost this, you start with an awareness and then it moves into more time with you and for you, right? Like I go through seasons where I'm really busy, and seasons can be like a couple weeks. It can be a month. It can be a couple months. But I go through seasons that are really busy. And it can be so easy to forget to take time for you and to forget to prioritize you. And that can sometimes mean like just, you know, watching Netflix. Like I love, 4 TV show ideas just went through my head. Whoa. On Stack TV, there is like, you know, access to those HGTV home reno shows or, series on HBO or things like that, like those, like spending time. I don't like to watch too much TV, but there are times where it's just nice to have that hour or two built in 2 hours, maybe like over the week or whatever, but just that time built in to let your brain do something other than process information, you know, through content creation or putting work into the world, that kind of thing. It's giving your brain a break. And I'm almost getting that me time is less about what you're doing and more ensuring that your brain has a moment to take in information instead of constantly putting out information, right? Because when you put out information all the time, it doesn't have the same opportunity to fill, right? And I mean, I say this from a neurodivergent place and having ADHD, which is like, it's amazing. And it's one of my favorite things, 333 on the time there. But what I find is that sometimes there can be like a sensory processing overload or underload, right? Where it has to balance out. So I don't know why this is coming through so much, but if you need to, just feel free to sit in front of the TV for an hour, right? You have permission. You have permission. And this is part of the balance of receptivity and action, right? And this, I guess we're heading into the full moon this weekend. And so I think that this is probably something to consider. This is coming up as sort of a collective message, but just really considering the balance between your awareness of, you know, purpose and drive, like driving towards that, like full speed ahead, but then also making sure that you have this element of me time that it's being balanced with so that you can, you know, when the universe starts to play your song, you can dance, right? Trip the light. Fantastic. Dance with the universe. So we are going to use the Muse Tarot to clarify here because it's such a nice evocative deck. It just brings so much imagery to mind. It is fantastic, fantastic. Spirit, can I get some messages for the collective, my daily creative collective for April 11th, please? Ooh, a magician. Let me move this over here. And I'm going to let my cat out before she stages a riot over here. Yes, I know, baby girl. Yeah. She's so funny because she'll like cry at the door to be let out, but then she'll stand in the hallway and be like, okay, do I have enough of a runway if I need to go get the zoomies and then come back? She's so cute. Okay, so we have the magician in your starting position. So you're feeling a little powerful today, I think. Maybe a little powerful, which is good. That's great energy to be in. Yeah, Knight of Wands. Amazing. Magician, Knight of Wands. What else we got, Spirit? Six of Swords. That's not bad energy either. Let me just do this here. Sploop. And that can go there. And I'm going to make sound effects. There we go. Fabulous. That's a little more visible on all accounts. Okay. Thank you so much, Spirit. Messages from my daily creatives. I'm hearing full steam ahead. Yeah. I feel like there is something that you're not just heading towards, but you're like full steam ahead on. Where passion and value meet the road. This one here? Okay. A lot of night energy here. Dang. It could be that you have a couple people competing for your attention, possibly. Yeah, Five of Cups or Five of Pentacles on the bottom. It's almost like I feel like there's like a way that you're kind of thrown out of balance today or this week. Like something is pulling at your attention, and not in a horrible way. Like I don't see, like there's no tower here, and this is all, for the most part, minor arcana. So it's very, like, it's not as in your face, you're going to want to prepare for this. This is really, and it's not standard issue either, but I'm getting the impression that you are starting in a strong position this week in terms of knowing what you want. Sometimes I get the feeling that this past weekend was one that helped you recharge a little bit, perhaps. And just recharge in terms of clarifying what you wanted. And this could have been the energy if you were stepping into it from the Aries new moon, where it's like one of action, yes, but that can also clarify what you want to rearrange and move towards. And I'm almost getting that there's like these two parts of you that are conflicting. So it could be that there are people competing for your attention, and it's kind of making you want to shift away or transition out of something or a space, and move further down the path. And it could also be, what I'm getting is that like there's this little nagging voice inside you that you're trying to push away, but that's saying, come, we have to go. Like it's time, right? Like it's time to get moving. And the Knights here tell me that there's the potential for you to feel a bit like the things that are, so this could also be offers that people are making. So you could, with Pentacle energy like this and the Ace of Wands, this could be career related for you, where you're getting offers or ideas are coming to you that are a little bit slower moving than what you might want. But you still find them inspiring, so you can still use them for the long haul, right? There's an element of long haul energy here, and I'm getting that you can use these ideas in the long run, but there's something about how you feel about it, like this Cups energy and this little nagging voice. Like I feel like there's something here where something is like off, something's a little bit off. Something's off. And the four of Swords here. So I should actually show you all the cards that I've got. So the Four of Swords in the position that it's in this deck tells me that today or this week, what you're going to be finding is that you're going to need to go within more. You're going to need more moments like this. And if you notice, there's that little tiny voice again, right? But there's a bridge that's built between where it is and you are. And you're no longer like, I almost get this image with this card of, this being you and this little voice inside, and you're like ready to just like flick it off. You're like, ping, goodbye, right? But I think this is more of the integration of it, and it's kind of opening up this sort of astral awareness or 5D awareness of a situation. Or, I mean, the Ace of Cups tells me that this is an offer. Right? This is an offer. And, pages tend to be, in my mind, offers from people, and aces tend to be offers from the universe, right? Knights are kind of a combination of both. I tend to think of them more romantic or career related. Whereas pages can just be something that someone says, like you can even overhear something in a Starbucks lineup or a Tim Hortons, because I'm Canadian. You could hear this while eating at a restaurant, at the table over says something, and you're like, oh, that's a fantastic idea. And you're like scribbling it down on a napkin, right? It can be that kind of thing, specific to creativity and specific to where you're headed on the journey. So I think that all of this is telling me that there's just these little ways that you're starting to integrate wisdom in service to being the magician, because this is you this week. So are you ready? Are you ready? Do you know that? So we had the magician, then we also had the Knight of Wands. We also had the Six of Swords. And then we had the Knight of Pentacles. The Ace of Wands. I love this, that rainbow. Oh, when I was a kid, I used to color with and like be enchanted by the Lisa Frank line of like all of those, like it really looked like psychedelic stuff. Like I was 10 years old, and now I look at it and I'm like, I was coloring an acid trip. Like that's, but it was so beautiful to me. And that's really what like this reminds me of, all of these incredible colors. So nonetheless, so we have the Ace of Wands, and then we have the Hierophant. So some Taurus energy here. Now this could be you kind of looking towards the end of the month. April 19th, we go into Taurus energy. So there could be something, I think it's not like keep your eye out for it, but almost keep your heart and ear, like your ear and your heart are attuned to this, right? Because again, we see this figure, this like kind of little voice that you're kind of looking up to, and it's sort of looking at your 5D wisdom. And I think that there's something that's going to be happening here. A lot of aligning of internal energy that is happening in this particular spread. A lot of it. So we have the Six of Swords. There's an internal, like two voices coming together. A Hierophant. It's almost like you're meeting with the bigger vision that you have for yourself and your life, and you're not running from it, right? This is grounding it in something real. And then we have the Four of Swords, which also has that inner voice there. And I don't think these things are overly loud. They're not so much a tower, but I think if you don't take that downtime, if you don't take time this week or today to really push pause, even if it's just for 20 minutes. I sometimes use the Calm app, and this isn't an advertisement at all. I mean, I just use it. They'll have really between 10 and 12-minute meditation. So like if you have a half-hour break at work, or if you have an hour break at work, you can even do that in the middle of that structured time that you have every day, 13 on the time, every day there or elsewhere, right? Like it's built right in. And if you're investing that much time, it's really in your best interest, because it gives your brain that pause where you're just watching thoughts, right? Or you're just like, and watching thoughts in the sense that you're not identifying with the feelings, so that you say, I'm feeling blah, blah, blah. Like I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. You're just pulling back and saying, these are all thoughts and feelings that I'm having. They're all equally compelling and interesting, but they give you that moment to understand who you are, and that you're pulling back from and watching it unfold. You're watching it unfold, and you're saying, I choose to work with this emotion, and I understand that I am not the emotion that I'm having. The emotion that I'm having is I'm thinking conglomeration, coagulation, the assembly of all of these different thought patterns and beliefs that you have, right? So sorry, this is going to be a little loud. You're zipping it up, but you're understanding what is worth your emotional investment and what isn't. And I think that's what this Ace of Cups really is. It's sort of like the song, If You Call, I Will Answer, is coming, or the song Call and Answer by Bare Naked Ladies. That line though, if you call, I will answer. That's sort of like the understanding that you're getting about the universe right now. And the universe is telling you this week and today, like if you call, it'll be answered, but you have to be listening, right? You have to be open. You have to be an empty cup to fill. Or you have to have emptied and filled your cup on your own in order to be refilled. Ugh, wording. Hopefully that makes sense. And then we have the 9 of Wands here as well. A lot of fire energy, right? And I almost get the impression that this is like you using boundaries in constructive ways, right? This is not necessarily like the cycle is over in the sense of the physicality of it, but you're sort of standing back and integrating. It's like the gates of wisdom is what I'm hearing. The gates of wisdom. Yeah. Yeah, you're standing at the gates of wisdom. And there's a lot that you've learned and taken in to get to this point. So it's not that it's not that you're starting from scratch. It's that you're starting from experience, but there may be a feeling of starting over again with this magician energy. But like all of the elements are here that you need. You have everything you need right here, right? And it's also within you too. And it may sound very trite, but I believe very firmly in terms of creatives and creative potential that when we have a dream for something, it is entirely possible. And we may not always know how, and we may get to the point where it's realized and we may go, wow, that changed for me. But it doesn't mean that it's impossible, right? I feel like, and there are systems that we have to take into consideration. And, I read a meme once that said, I think it was a Twitter screenshot of somebody saying something and that they heard someone say, you didn't make the most of your choices. You had good choices. You had good choices in the first place, right? We say, let's make the best of it. Well, sometimes people have better choices than others. And I think that part of shadow work is integrating that understanding, right? It's integrating that understanding. And, with some of the things that we are moving towards in terms of collectively, I think that's featuring prominently too, is understanding that there's collective shadow work that we're doing and asking big questions. And part of shadow work is being unafraid to lean into that without staying there so that we become immobilized in places of fear or disempowerment. And it's understanding what we can do with what we have and where we are, especially in the context of systems that may not work in our favor, right? I can say that for sure. I have that experience myself. I think that is just to diffuse shame and to take shame out of the equation, to say, don't be ashamed of where you are, because if somebody else had good choices, right, then their path is going to look a lot different. So it's releasing that tendency to malign where you are as though it's your fault. For anybody who's part of an equity seeking group, that's true, right? Very true. So I think that this is part of the journey that you're taking, even if it's almost like this 5D part of yourself that's realizing this. And then you'll find that bits and pieces of wisdom find you along the way and that just occur to you, or you'll hear people talk about things that, you'll overhear conversations, or you'll hear a podcast, or you'll read a sentence in a book, or, you may be listening to this or other readers where someone will say something and you're like, oh, right. That's true. And it just occurs to you. Like it's those things that are like, oh, that's interesting. And it's like a little aha moment that you have, right? But I think that so knights in the way that I'm reading this here is either people or situations that are competing for your attention and energy. The reason being, and this could be energies too, right? So the reason being is that the way it's set up is that there's the light just went out. Isn't that funny? Of course. There we go. And we're back. So we have the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Cups on either side of the Magician. So it's almost like these two parts of you with work that you're doing or work that you want to do or things that you want to bring to fruition in your life. It's like you're feeling like you can't have both inspiration and passion and emotional investment, or you're feeling like you can't emotionally invest in an idea that you have, right? Like emotional investment, ideas. And so you're kind of, it's messing with your manifesting a little bit is a message that I'm getting right now. So how do you get clear about that? You think about what you value. Knight of Pentacles. You think about what you value and your why. And when you think about what your why is, I mean, don't throw all of your emotional, like that's because it doesn't honor the idea itself, nor does it honor your beautiful heart, my wonderful creatives. In order to, like, it's, if you're throwing all that you have emotionally into an idea, without tempering that with something, right? Without tempering that with either pacing it or strategy, or really giving the idea time to flourish and marinate, right? I think that the Pentacles is sort of the answer to that, where it's saying, just, this is your companion on the journey. This is your, it's understanding your why, but also not being so caught up in it that you become a victim to it either, right? Because your why can be something that inspires you at the depth of your being that no one will fully understand. It's that profound, and you won't be able to put it into words because it's that profound. But the challenge with that is that same why can also be your reason for not doing it. That same why can also be your holdback, well, I shouldn't, I'm not really qualified. Like, I see these tarot, I've seen advertisements for this, and I'm probably going to see more because I'm saying it. So my phone's like, oh yeah, we got something for you. But these certification courses for tarot, right? I fully believe that if people want to do that, they should. But I also feel like the same why that pushed them to do that and to get a certification that says, yes, you are qualified to read tarot, when realistically you're as qualified as you want to be. People would have probably said that I needed to have one to break into an industry, right? To break into the industry, 21 on the time. But like, I've been doing this for so long outside of YouTube that it doesn't, like, what? Right? Like, there's a certain expertise to it. And it occurred to me because I was thinking, like, are people really taking something like this seriously in the context of tarot? And I thought, no. It is designed to look like that because of advertising, number one. And number two, the people who need certifications to confirm for them that they're worthy enough of pursuing what they want to do will probably stumble because they haven't done the work of really understanding that their why can be a gift, but it can also be the thing that holds them back. Because if you don't feel like you're qualified or enough to do the thing in the first place, once you get the certification, you have not dealt with the energy that pushed you to pay money to have someone tell you that you're qualified. Right? And sometimes it's a matter of discipline. Like, I understand structures and systems. Like, I have ADHD. So there are days where I do need systems and structures to, like, sit down and say, this is the time frame I'm going to do this in, or this 222 was just on the time. So could be something related to, like, for me, 2222 is like new start energy, new relationship energy, new project energy, that kind of thing. And there's more to it than that. It's also partnership, collaboration, a little bit of love. But what I'm seeing here, big energy on this, and that, again, it's not to malign people who are, diving into that tarot certification and expertise, but it's also just like, you want to know that you have it in you all along. And tarot isn't, if somebody were to say to me, I would like to be a doctor and I want to be a brain surgeon, I would not say, oh, you can definitely just start where you are. Like, there are certain things you need certifications for, right? If you want to be a therapist, there's counselors, coaches, and psychologists are kind of a step up from that. You have, like, all of these different levels, right, of expertise that you need. Psychiatry is a totally different ballgame. You need expertise for that. Reading tarot is yes and no, right? You need your intuition, you need a whole bunch of things, and it can be a very 3D game that we play with ourselves, where we create these needs for certification, right? Where I have a Reiki master certificate. You know where it's sitting right now? It's in my closet in a binder. I have a master's degree in environmental studies, and I have a second one that kind of build onto it, because once type A, always type A. So it's like I have a Master of Environmental Studies, but I also have a certification in urban planning, right? They both qualify me to do a whole bunch of things, but they're sitting in my closet because I don't need them for this. I don't need an expertise to tell me that I'm worthy to do something that I want to do, right? Certainly, do I use the master's degree and all of that other stuff in other places? Sure. But to do this, not so much. 2424 on the time. And I think maybe this is what you need to know, is if you're, like, thinking about something like that. And, I'm not trying to cause drama or anything like that in tarot communities or anything, because for some people it's right, for others it's not, right? what might be better suited for somebody who's, at the more of the will of systems than a certification is setting enough money aside that you would have put towards the certification to get a tarot deck to read with and to put money towards a website, for 6 months, to have that money set aside so that you have the website going for 6 months and you can start to get clients coming to you. That way you have something that's sustainable instead of pouring money into something that isn't going to really do much for a business model. It's going to maybe help you feel confident, but I don't know why that's coming through so strongly. And again, this is not talking down to people who get it, because the people who get it, they may need it, right? 2525. And that could be related to, like I said, I have ADHD. So my neurodivergent ass sometimes needs that structure. It needs the timeline. There are times where I've set aside 2 weeks and I'll tell people in my life, or a week or whatever, and I'll say like, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing. And it's like, and you can say like, I'm starting a program for myself, and you're working a program for yourself where you're integrating knowledge or, learning things for you. But it's like you're putting structure to it. So some people need that, but that's where your why, I feel like I'm talking in circles now, but this is where your why can be your best friend, but it can also be an Achilles heel if it's not, if it's like speaking through a shadow. And I think that's where it's like you're learning to listen. You're learning what parts of your inner voice and inner child are, what parts should be running the show and what parts are just really afraid of failing, what parts are really worried about the future, what parts are really worried if you're enough, right? Sometimes this is how the dream can feel. You're here looking up at this beautiful, wonderful dream that you have, and it really makes it challenging to know what you value, A, and B, how you're going to invest in that and what it means to you and what you truly value. And that's kind of where I get this idea of like inspiration meeting, like it's like when the rubber hits the road, Knight of Pentacles and the Ace of Wands. It's like something clicks either this week or today. It could be around the full moon, because that to me is more about relationships and balance. I think it's a beautiful full moon coming. I can feel some of the energy. I've been dipping into it in readings this week and just kind of meditating on the energy to really hear what it has to say for the collective. But I think that all of this is telling me that you're understanding the the terms of negotiation for the dance have changed. The goalposts have not, and I think that you're understanding at a very fundamental level what you loved about the dance in the first place. Wow, this is a big ass week. This is a big week for my collective, my creative collective. Truly, really and truly. I'm going to get some more messages here from the traditional Rider-Waite Tarot. And you're in your head about the work. That was right on the split. I shuffle all of these decks after I do readings, and I do my, I have my stones with them, and I've shuffled them multiple times, and that was on the split for this reading and the energy. So I really think there is something to be said for listening to that and paying heed, not to the anxieties, but to the energy of the feelings and deciding what you would like to invest in emotionally. Spirit, can I get some clarifying messages here for my daily creatives? Thank you so much. And I should say too that at some point in the future, I will be splitting these readings up. So this part will be part of the extended, and I will add a link to that in the description. Not today, but eventually. I want to give you guys some time to kind of catch up to that. The reason being is that I want to make this a little bit sustainable to me and for me. So if something does resonate for you, you can hop on to that extended link. So just a heads up, it probably won't be starting for another month or so, but I want to give you guys time to kind of catch up to that. Yeah, because I think it's like as an entrepreneur, I have to look at paying for things like a website and making sure that my business side of this is sorted. And I don't think it's a huge ask if something resonates to check it out, right? So I know I've done that for many readers before. So yeah. All right. And it will all be reasonably priced. I'm not going to, yeah. So Spirit, on that note, can you give me some clarifying messages here for my wonderful creative collective for April 11th for this kind of extended portion? Thank you so much, Spirit. I'm getting messages of like a lot of balance, Lots of balance. Yeah. I feel like there's a way that you can kind of see, I almost get this Emperor energy off of this card, which is interesting because it's a Taurian card more than Aries. But it's like this, like, it's almost like there's something that you started in the new moon, or something that you're starting, or you're in the energy of beginning fresh. And I think that you're kind of, you're going for, it's almost like Hermit meets the Emperor. So like this wise entrepreneur. Interesting. Wise entrepreneur. Yeah, because I think that you're really starting to understand what to give your energy to and what not to. And it's really all in service to the work that you're doing and the things that you're creating, which is brilliant, right? Like that's beautiful energy. Yeah. You're understanding what to put your energy towards. Ace of Wands. Thank you so much, Spirit. Can you tell me about this, this competing energy a little bit? Oh, thank you. Yeah, Queen of Cups, definite emotion. Yeah, there's something about, maybe this is like the qualification piece, right? I was going on about the certification thing, and I think it's part of it is this, like, this feeling of confidence. Like you're grounded, your idea is grounded, you have a sense, and this doesn't have to mean tarot, right? Like, I mean, my channel is tarot for creatives. So, right? Tarot for creators. So that to me is like, it could be, but I think that there's this way that you're kind of doubting yourself and you're not trusting in the emotion behind the why enough. And this is where being more in that witness space, of being able to just watch your emotions as they unfold today and this week is going to be really important to you. There was a tarot reader, G, that I was watching, and she mentioned it a little bit ago, and it's been kind of on my mind a bit. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. I'm going to kind of integrate that into some of my practice too. And it was really helpful, right? And then I saw something else on Soulful Revolution's page, and then I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's true. That's really true too. And it was just about like the worthiness piece, right? So I think all of these things can work in service. And that's where it's like staying open to these little ideas. Like, it doesn't have to be groundbreaking. You can hear it from somewhere, and then bam, it just clicks. It just clicks completely. So let's see what we've got here. Yeah, celebrating others. Yeah, my little shout outs to the readers that I watch. Spirit, can I get some clarification about these two fiery energies, the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles, in the context of this Magician energy? Because these two things are in alignment. These are in alignment. The emotions are kind of running in the other direction. Can you tell me, Spirit, about this energy here? Thank you so much. Maybe, okay. There's some scattered energy happening here. Yeah, it's a little bit of scattered energy. So I had the Four of Cups and the Page of Wands. It's almost like so what I got was like this sort of like defiantly looking at one side of things when what you needed to look at was a whole bunch of sides of things. And what that does to your energy is kind of puts you in this like constantly needing to be saved from it, right? Constantly needing to be liberated from it. This is Libra energy as well. So that is, I mean, it can be a kind of stuck energy when it's in the reverse. And I feel like it's just this reminder that like when you are really stubborn and not open to any kind of feedback about what you're doing or how much energy you're putting towards things, it means that you can't really be clear on things. 3-3 on the time. It means that it's difficult to be clear about things. What does that mean in the context of this energy? Well, the way I look at it is there's this sort of like not looking at this way that you're feeling. Like it's almost like you don't want to see it, so you're just running towards new ideas. And that can be wonderful because it takes all of the energy that you are putting into this and directs it somewhere else. So this may not be a thing, but this emotion, if it's not dealt with, it just stagnates, right? And then that will eventually affect the energy that you put towards something else. So there's something new and fresh breaking through, but it could also just be offers that you're bored by, right? It could be offers from people to work together or creative projects. And, like, I'm not saying that that's not true for me. But I see that in this context here with the Knights and then the Page energy, like, It's just like in the context of these bigger things that you're working towards and these bigger energies that you've been working with, or that I'm almost getting like enthralled by, like you're just so taken with them. And taken meaning just because of the movement here, like you're so already in those energies that it doesn't seem to compare. It doesn't compare quite the same, right? So it doesn't compare, like sure, they're inspiring, but then the Ace of Inspiration, so the Ace of Wands is here in this deck as almost like the universe reminding you of what is most important to you with the commitment piece. So the Hierophant, right? Like what is most important and easy for you to commit to. And the other stuff is kind of like, oof, what is difficult about it? Like what's challenging to commit to? Right? What's challenging to move towards? Not because it's not inspiring, but because there's like a scalable difference. Like it's the scalability of your emotions. I don't know how I like that. It's like it's like you're inspired, but you have to understand that there's externalized inspiration, and you have to kind of do a gut check with inner you and with your inner child too. And it's like, are you bored by something because it's truly not for you? Or are you bored by something because your inner child is actually deeply scared and terrified? And have you had the comforting conversation with them? Have you had the comforting conversation with the kid in you that might be afraid of something that is turning an opportunity that could be great? It could also be an extension of this energy here that you're already running with, right? But it could be that your inner child is kind of like, no. Even though it's small inspiration that is starting to become more externalized, like tangible to you. It's showing up in a person. It's showing up in a project, page, offers, right? Messages. The Page of Inspiration. Oh, sorry. I thought this was the Ace of Wands. So that's interesting. It is literally the Page as well. I was reading that as the Ace of Wands. So we're going to run with that as the Ace because that's the energy I was reading from it, primarily because I felt like this was an offer from the universe in the way that I was reading the cards intuitively. So we're going to run with that. Now that I'm seeing that, it's almost like it could be that there's two different offers that are on the table, that one is much more appealing than the other, and one is showing up as like Ace energy in terms of one is guided, and it makes it easier for you to commit to in the long run, or to see yourself in that role. And it may make you feel like you're like, those are the shoes that I have to fill. Are you fucking kidding me? No, the universe does not kid like that. So remember that it's safe to step into those bigger shoes, right? Whoa, my cards are going everywhere. Spirit, can you tell me a little bit about this this would-be Ace of Wands, please? Thank you. Oh, sorry about that, folks. Queen of Wands and Six of Cups. Yeah, there's something about the inner child here and this energy of not trusting. Like, it's almost like you've really had to develop your ability to trust in the ideas that you have. And I'm getting like major childhood energy off of this, like your inner child, right? Like you're trying to trust your inner child, but it's really hard because in the context of the Queen of Wands, it's almost like she's showing up in reverse. It's almost like the Queen of Wands is showing up in reverse. And I think it has a lot to do with the integration of this little you in you, right? Spirit, can you give me some clarification on how this relates to the commitment piece? Oh, I see. Knight of Cups and the Five of Pentacles. So this is probably where you feel really conflicted because it's like those two competing energies, right? Like trusting in, let me pull them up here. So I'll show you this. So Knight of Cups and Five of Pentacles clarified the Hierophant. And when I talk about the Knight of Cups here, it's almost like you're kind of torn because like when you've trusted your emotions before, so this is how the top of the spread laid out, right? Knight of Cups, Knight of Wands, you manifesting, and these two energies competing for your energy. And like there's parts of you that were competing with yourself, right? So I almost get that this Knight of Cups, it's echoing down here because it's sort of what throws you into this Five of Pentacles place that screws with the manifestation, like I had mentioned. So I think that there's a real truth here to the fact that you haven't really been able to trust your emotions quite the same because you've spent so much time identifying with them, and that affects the color, that affects the hue, the tint of your manifestations when they come to fruition. So it's almost like figuring out the best way to be inspired by something without letting the emotional part of it run away with you, right? Like I think about relationships and projecting, for example. So like if I like somebody, and I did this so much in my 20s, and I had to break that habit because it just kept breaking my own heart and also other people's too, where like now it's dating is so different. Dating is so different. I mean, I have like I'm single, so take that for what you will, but like dating is different in terms of the habit and pattern that I just picked up on here with this emotional investment piece, right? It's like you're dating someone and then you already have married them in your mind before you even know, like, this is going to sound like a weird metric for things like this, but just bear with me because I'm a bit of an odd duck. So when it comes to dating, if you haven't like, broken wind around one another and you're planning a future and you're marrying them in your mind, knowing that you want to get there is fine. But there's also this like letting the process be the process too, right? And that's where it's like you can kind of get into your head about things and plan it out. And then that becomes a conflict with the manifestation when it shows up because you've already, mentally created this person. You've mentally created the way that you're engaging with them. You've mentally created this belief about them without fully getting to know them. And that can happen with our manifestations too, right? Like we can create this life for ourselves. I'm just going to move the mic up a little bit here. We can create a life for ourselves. We can create manifestations, or these templates of manifestations, and they can't have happened yet. They don't happen yet. They haven't happened yet. That's the word I'm looking for. They haven't happened yet, but what we end up doing is putting the cart before the horse energetically because of how we're seeing it emotionally. So if we become the witness to thoughts and emotions, specifically emotions, instead of running to identify with them and say, well, I'm this type of person. This is how the manifestation is going to come to me. Well, we don't know that for sure, right? Yet. You can see things about somebody, for example, in dating. You can be like, that person is like marriage material, right? You can read that off of some folks a mile away. Others, you can get to know them and you're like, oh, I really like that's somebody 4141 on the time. That's somebody that I see that with. But this is sort of, I'm almost getting this energetic cart before the horse here, where it's like with manifesting, it's like you're not trusting. It's sending you into a 5 of Pentacles unnecessarily, my dear. Unnecessarily, because you don't need to be investing in things that way. You can invest emotionally in something, but you also don't have to invest in it and give it the power. This is where identifying with your emotions and not doing that is really important. I'm going to let my child in. Come on, squishy girl. She's having a day where she is being a little bit of a diva. She's just sitting at the doorway chirping at me. Come on. And she's gone and we're back. So this is, I just heard like what I just thought about my cat, Eva, doing that whole like coming to the door and scratching at the door, being like, can I come in? Can I come in? Let me in. Hey, I'm here. And then when I open the door for her, she's like, just kidding. And then takes off down the hall, right? Like it's almost that energy that we do and bring to our manifestations where like, it's okay to emotionally invest in something and to like dream about it and to imagine what it will be like. All of that beautiful, beautiful, innocent energy is okay to bring to the table. It's when you start to identify with the feelings that you're having and being inflexible, right? It's almost like I got from this like a certain inflexibility. So we don't ignore things. We don't ignore things. I'm not advocating for that, but it's almost like it's really hard to dance with the universe when you're carrying all of the weight of that expectation with you. And I think that's sort of where this 9 of Wands is like in a 10 of Wands energy in the way that I'm looking at it. Yeah, the 4 of Pentacles, very stuck energy is what it can create. And you end up breaking your own heart. Yeah, you end up breaking your own heart. So my daily creatives, let's not do that, okay? Let's not do that, my loves. It's not good for you. It doesn't speak to your potential. It doesn't speak to your potential. And it's not that you have to reach that potential to be important or to have a life of meaning. What I'm talking about here is just that there's so many other ways that you can use your emotions, and that will just get you so stuck. And those tender hearts of yours need to love things that will love you back. and manifestations that are coming can love you back. People, projects, all of that stuff. But if we're stuck in the idea of it and we miss what could be really amazing in the interim, and that's the manifestation. Like when you're thinking about the process, like it can leave us really suspended in motion. So I don't know who that's for, but Spirit, can I get some guidance here on this Knight of Cups, Knight of Cups, 9 of Wands, and 6 of Pentacles, please? Yeah. I think that there's a way that this will, the Fool. Wow. I think that there is, it's almost like you're kind of not throwing caution to the wind, but you are, this to me, in the way that I'm reading it right now, is like the experience of sitting around with friends and having had a long conversation or over dinner or whatever. And then, someone like, let's make a toast to the thing you're about to do. Let's make a toast. Right? I'm big on that kind of thing, and it's super cheesy, but I feel like we need to integrate more ceremony and ritual into celebrating the big and little steps in our lives. And I almost feel like this is a pretty big step for you internally, right? What I really like is that the minor arcana show up up here. And then the major arcana are starting to kind of pop out a little bit more in this part of the reading, which tells me that there are foundational things that are shifting internally. And you know this. You fundamentally know this. I'm taking those out because that's great energy. High Priestess and the Queen of Pentacles on the Fool and the 3 of Cups. Yeah. There's like a knowing that this is taking place. And maybe you need to take the full moon and to respectfully, of course, to create a ceremonial and ritual way of releasing this pattern and this habit. Spirit, can I get some clarification here on the rest of this spread? Page of Cups. 4 of Swords again. 8 of Swords. I'm just going to do this here and get this all set up. And then I'm going to read what we see and what I'm feeling. The Empress. That's a great energy. Ace of Wands, of course. Yeah. It was just the Knight of Pentacles. I mean, like, it's only the Knight of Pentacles. It's just confirmation of what's happening here. So I'm seeing that almost this, like, you take like the little jump and then like, bam, you're like these are the big shoes that you were trying to fill here in this, Hierophant energy, right? Like you're stepping into those big shoes to fill. You're like, I don't know if I can do it. And then you start as a page and you're like, no, actually this is a lot more comfortable for me than I thought. I am understanding how to invest my emotions well, and I'm very in tune with my emotions. So I'm no longer subject to the Knight of Cups energy, where it's kind of still in development. Like you start small, right? And this is where I love the imagery of like the small fish in a big pond, right? And then you step into that power more fully. And I think that this is, to me, reading of emotional awareness. I know that the King of Cups is usually like, it's read a lot as like emotional restriction and kind of being like constipated emotionally. Sorry for the rather crude imagery there. But like this energy here tells me that it's almost like you're like, well, I don't know. And then I'm not sure. Fuck it. Like you just put it down. You're like, no, I'm done. And I don't think there's a whole lot of fanfare about it. I think that you're like, yeah, I'm over it. Like I'm over it. And you reconnect with that part of you. It's almost like there's like this hesitation. Then you are like, well, I don't really know if I should. And then you just decide to. And that could be the releasing that takes place during the Libra full moon, which I recommend making the most of. And I think that the Empress energy is like the culmination of the value for you, the culmination of value for you. And the culmination, it's almost like I'm hearing coming to fruition. And that's where something that's where I think something can manifest. It can manifest because it's like you're releasing yourself from this and you're picking up the wand instead. You're answering the call of the wand as opposed to the bondage of the swords that you're keeping yourself in through that pattern. And I think this is you seeing it. I think this is really you seeing it all very clearly. And this is great energy for for creative anything. Moving through and past this kind of energy where you're push pull and like you're really torn inside. I'm really excited for how this is going to play out for you this week, my daily creatives. Very excited. I'm going to pull, I just got the kind of ping to do it, the chakra cards to give you an idea of some tangible wisdom. I don't tend to think of this as prescriptive as much as it is something that you can take with you for the wisdom. And also, if this could highlight something else, whoa, things are falling. Spirit, can you give me some cards here for my daily creatives relative to April 11th and this beautiful internal journey, and also the things that they're manifesting, because I'm getting that there's a ton of wonderful things on the way. And I just heard like the rest that you'll see during the rest of the week's readings, and that I think is very true, that when we start off with certain things on the Monday, by the Friday it's almost like you see the journey playing out, and I love how the energy does that. Sensuality, forgiveness. Can I get one more, Spirit? Grounding. Yeah, with the Empress energy, I'm not surprised that the grounding is there. And also just the Pentacle energy in terms of the Queen, 6, and the Knight of Pentacles here. So sensuality. And I also see the Empress as sensuality too, and the Taurian energy. So I'll read this to you while I hold this, because the Empress is like central AF. Sensuality and pleasure are my birthright to be experienced with blissful joy. And this is, so remember this in the context, my friends. Remember this in the context of, this could be part of the emotional thing that you're torn between this Knight of Wands and the Knight of Cups. Like you're torn between this offering to yourself of like how you're offering yourself to yourself or energy to yourself as part of your manifestation process, right? Sometimes it's okay to dig into the sensuality of something as part of that process of bringing and calling in like projects or creative ideas or partners, all of that stuff. So sensuality and pleasure are my birthright to be experienced with blissful joy. I honor and embrace my sexuality, recognizing the sacred sexual connection with myself and the intimate partner of my choice. It is safe for me to be sensual and sexual and to be respected for this. Pleasure and enjoyment are good, clean, and healthy. I experience pleasure. Now, I know that this talked a little bit about sexual energy, but I think about too is that like sex is a creative act. Like even if it's, between folks who need biological intervention to create life, it's still a generative and creative act. People forget this, that energetically speaking, there's so much more than just what happens physiologically. There's so much more. And I think that what I thought about while reading this card is just like sensuality and pleasure are my birthright to be experienced with blissful joy. This is like, if you're manifesting from that place of bliss, dig into it, right? Dig into that. If you say like, oh, I want to go on, I want to have the business of my dreams. I want to have this kind of work that I do. I want this kind of job. Okay, what are the sensual pieces of it? Huh? Well, let me explain. So I think about sensuality in terms of sensory processing, which for me in ADHD is like, what do things sound like? Where you work, what's the lighting like? Is it an open or is it an open concept space, or is it a closed concept space? Do you have an office? What about the time of day that you work? Tell me about how the sunlight looks when it filters in through the windows. If you walk around the building, is the building big enough to walk around? Is it like a campus that you want to work on? In terms of the size of the company, is it something that's smaller? Do you want to work from home? How does the sunlight look? What does it sound like when it rains? If you are coming into work in the morning and you have to leave your home to work at a dream job, how does it feel when you have your coffee with you? You're well rested. It is a day where you're just like ready to like crush it. What does that sound like? What is the ambient sound of the office like? What does it smell like? Is it a no scent space? If you're at home, do you have incense burning? Do you have candles going? What happens in the moments where you're just overwhelmed with gratitude for being able to do what you love to do? What does that feel like? What's happening around you in those moments where you come face to face with the God in you? Right? That's the sensuality of it. And even like thinking about it in terms of relationships. Here's another one. What does it feel like when I think about that? I'm I think about this with relationships because that's sort of where I'm at right now. But like, um, manifesting a partner that you really, that like, has like big love of your life energy to it. Not every person that you come into contact with is going to be that energy, but I think like, what is the sensual piece of it? That sensual piece of it is like that's the spark, that's the creative energy in it that like makes everything flourish. Um, I think about like, laying in bed and, I'm a stomach sleeper. So like my hands will be under the pillow and you can feel the warmth of everything still and you're not really moving. Like I'm usually the early riser of all of the people that I know. So like even going to a friend's cottage, I was like up at the crack of dawn and they were all like, yeah, you woke us all up because the coffee smell. And I'm like, whoops. But like thinking about that, like what would if you're not the early riser, how would it feel to like slowly wake up gently to the smell of coffee, knowing that your person is like around and they're starting their day quietly and you have like a full day to date or a full day to do whatever, right? It's that kind of energy, thinking about what it feels like when they, for me, it's just like, what does it feel like when someone comes up behind me and wraps their arms around me? Like that to me is like, well, like it's a whole other kind of heaven. Yeah, like you'll have to peel me off the ceiling kind of thing. But it's like, how does that feel? Because it's that person, not just anyone, but like, how does it feel? Because it's that creative project or that person. That's the sensual piece, right? It's not just about like sensual as in like delicious and like thinking about sex. Like it's not that stuff necessarily. So I think the sensuality piece is remembering to integrate a sensuality into your manifesting. If you want to manifest a home, okay, does your home have hardwood floors or does it have carpet? Where you are right now, does it have carpet or hardwood floors? Okay, so if that's the thing, if you want a house that, or an apartment or somewhere to live that has hardwood floors, okay, so think about what it would feel like when the sun hits the floor in that one spot where it heats it up, and you're like going from the kitchen to the living room or whatever, and you walk across that spot, and it stops you in your tracks because you're like, oh, that's so nice just to stop in the patch of sun. How does it feel when you're making coffee and standing by the sink, for example, and you have the windows open in your new place or your new home or whatever? Let's say your new place, okay? And you hear the birds chirping. What do the seasons sound like? How do you mark the passing of the seasons from that place? What are the sensual things that tell you about that make you so excited and thrilled to be in the moment where you are in that home? Think about, if you have carpet, if you want a home with carpet, is it textured? Is it thick? Do you have area rugs? Like it's something so simple, but because I'm so grounded in a sensual experience when it comes to my ADHD, like, in terms of music, do you have music playing softly in the background or are you a headphone person? I tend to be more of a headphone person in a home because I don't want to, I think noise pollution is a big problem out in the world and I don't want to contribute to that problem within four walls. So for me, I'll just have classical music playing or instrumental music playing. When I'm running, I listen to EDM because that's how it is. But like there's different things, like how do you mark your place in time, in a space, in a manifestation, not so that it's connected to I feel this way and this is my why for making it. No, connect to the sensuality and your why will become self-evident. Okay, so now that I've gone on about that, I forgive myself. This is forgiveness. This is another one, right? I forgive myself for my imperfections, do my best, and find contentment with that. I am good enough. I recognize my hurts and nurture my inner child with all that he or she needs, or they, right? We got our they's and gentle thems. Let's talk about that. So I recognize my hurts and nurture my inner child with all that they need. Well, they, he, or she need. I forgive others for their preconceptions, judgments, and behaviors, trusting we are all doing our best with our current levels of awareness and patterning. So this is big forgiveness, and I think this has a lot to do with that inner child energy. And then we have the grounding energy here, which is the Empress that I got. Queen of Pentacles here too, but more so on the Empress, right? And this is about being able to, when you're grounded, that's where the sensuality piece of your manifestations can take flight, can take off, right? I am anchored into my physical existence and resonate in perfect harmony with the physical world. I am of the earth as I am of heaven. I root down and yield to the world around me. I connect with the life-giving energies of the earth and lovingly release lower vibrations to Gaia to be transformed. I am earthed. And this energy too, like think about, if you want to change a friend circle, for example, or if you're like making shifts around your friend group, something that you might be able to do is remember that you signed up for this, right? So you signed up for this. And this is a kind of me time, right? This is a kind of me time. And it's important to remember that this is like a me time thing. If you want to shift your friend group and you want to attract friends that, like, if you have friends, this isn't true for me. I'm not a huge partier, but I'll use this example because I know a lot of folks experience that transition and that split where they have friends that like to go out to bars and to party, which sounds like a living nightmare with all the music and all of that stuff, right? I'm more of like, let's go to a play. Let's go to, let's go to the symphony, because these are much more entertaining things to me. But again, everyone has their own thing. So let's say your friend group is interested in like clubs and bars and stuff, right? And then you start to transition away from that. Well, what do you want that to be? Instead of just maligning what is in your life and saying, well, I don't like to do that anymore and I feel this way about it, and identifying with those feelings and saying, oh, that's like, screw them for not being what I want. No. They've always been themselves. If you change, that's a you thing, not them. Most of the time, people have never, they've never lied to us about who they are. They can try, but then when they, like, what I'm talking about is friends that we've known for years, right? We can sometimes see things about them and then we're like, oh shit, that's true. I was dishonest with myself. I did throw myself into like a 2 of swords, and, I was 4 of cups about it. And it's like resisting the urge to be 5 of pentacles and 5 of cups about it, because it's not helpful, right? It doesn't honor you or them. So think about, for example, if you want to make that change and transition of friend groups and whatnot, think about what it would feel like to have people come over and to host dinner parties. Think about what it would feel like to have, people come over and to have movie nights. What would it feel like to go over to other people's homes and have movie nights? Would you sit on the couch? Would there be a big group of people there, like 5, 6, 7, 8 people? And, maybe you sit on the floor. Would you have to sit on the floor with a pillow, or would you sit on the couch? Like, how busy a place is it, right? Would you bring appetizers, or would you have a potluck dinner? Think about, and these little details don't necessarily need to be the template by which you manifest, but they can be the sensual experience of the manifestation that allows it to come to you, because you're not so caught up in, well, I don't know what it looks like. I don't know, right? And you're sinking into the feeling of it. And that's where the sensory component and the feeling are so intimately related. And I think it's about pulling back from the emotion to an extent, so where it may prevent you from, because you overinvest in the vision of how it should be. And then it kind of gets you locked into this emotional state, as opposed to being curious about how, like, what the circumstances on the way there could be, if that makes sense, right? It's not like putting, I need my friend to live in this building and I need them to live in this neighborhood, in this place. If you have kids, maybe you want someone who's more locally based, so that's a different story. But I'm saying, like, if you're restricting it to that thing and they have to have Berber carpet and like all this stuff, and I'm like, I know that with how accident prone I can be, my friends have joked about getting me a sippy cup. So like having a specific carpet might be relevant in that case, but usually it doesn't matter at all, right? So all of the things that I suggested here around sensuality are designed to place you in the energy of the manifestation, right? Without identifying with the emotional component of it in a way that puts you in this sort of back and forth, and like you're almost at odds. Like the manifestation can't come because all of this energy is running in 2 different directions. It's running in 2 different directions. Because the emotional investment in it, it's almost like you're fearful of it, because the idea is, it's almost like it can seem too good to be true. But if you place yourself in those spaces, in those manifestations, and make them concrete to you mentally, you've already placed yourself in those situations. So you know what it looks like, and you may even inadvertently seek out experiences like that, because they don't scare you, because you do not feel like you're trying to fill big shoes. Right? You don't feel like you're trying to fill big shoes, because you're like, I've already gone there mentally, and like I've gone to that visualization place and I've already imagined myself there. It wasn't that scary. It wasn't that scary in my mind. So you know what? Maybe I can make this little leap. maybe I can do this little thing. Maybe I can do this like little, make this little emotional investment, and then bam, I think it's like that you become the King of Cups all at once. So that, my friends, is the long, that's the long story of it. I'm going to dive into the, to our gold standard here, affirmations and loving thoughts from the universe. So this is the Miracles Now deck by Gabby Bernstein. I trust that my gut reaction is the truth underneath the surface of my fears. Absolutely. Why am I so adamant about that? Because it's like that gut reaction. It's like you have to convince your inner child that it's safe, right? And sometimes imagining the outcome before it happens as a manifesting tool also helps to keep your inner child feeling safe, right? It's like polyvagal theory in terms of trauma and making sure. So if you have experienced PTSD, I encourage you to get help for it if you have not done so already. But this here, it's like, it's almost like you're prepping your inner child and saying, it's really safe. It's safe for you to come out and play. It's safe, right? I almost get this as like you trying to convince your inner child, like, it's safe. It's safe, boo. Make the leap. It's safe. And then notes from the universe on love and connection by Mike Dooley. That is this deck. Let us away, as it were. Okay, Spirit, what have you got for my wonderful creative collective for April 11th? Sometimes the good is hidden. That's where the manifestation piece comes in. You got to pull it out from the ethers, because nobody is going to drop the ideal vision and version of something in your lap. It's hidden because you've got to manifest it and make it your own from your own imagination, from your own creative visualization, which is a great book, by the way, by Shakti Gawain. Creative visualization. There's a workbook associated with it that gives you a bunch of exercises that I highly recommend. I'll read the back though. Find the good in what they said or asked. It's always there, even if they didn't mean for it to be there. Sherlock Lee, yours, the universe. P.S. Clues for what you want are hidden all around you. Yes, yes, indeed they are. They're hidden all around you, my darlings. There isn't a soul on the planet who doesn't crave your approval. The only difference between a friend and a foe is that you've decided where love can grow. The universe. So this, I think, to me says that there's a lot of, this is the emotional investment energy piece, right? There isn't a soul on the planet who doesn't crave your approval. And this is in terms of like what you look at, what you focus on expands, right? And what you decide where love can grow. You decide that. This is just a reminder that everything is responding to your energy, right? Everything is responding to, this can literally mean people who are looking for your approval. That can get kind of dodgy with energy and stuff. But what I'm seeing here more so, far more so, is that you are in a position, it's almost like I'm hearing poised, like you're poised. Excuse me. You're poised and ready to manifest with the understanding that you don't need to worry about your emotions as though it's something that's going to come upon you. Sorry, I have a tickle in my throat and I'm trying to, this reading's so long already and I'm trying to like fight it off. I have tears in my eyes, and it's like if someone walked in, they'd be like, oh, you look so deeply moved by that reading. And it's true, but it's the cough. Okay. And we're back. So I get this is like where you were feeling a bit conflicted about the manifestation and the energy, the emotional energy specifically, right? So it's like you've decided where love can grow. You've decided that you're making the emotional investment wisely, but you're understanding that it responds. Your energy is responding to things around you, and people respond to your energy too. So where you may have been a bit afraid, and there may be that surface, under the surface fear, this inner child, right? It's like, I trust that my gut reaction is the truth underneath the surface of my fears. You have to trust your gut first and find it, right? You have to trust it. And I think that's where this groundedness and grounding are going to be really important, because your gut instinct is the empress. And what I love about this is that it's like, the Empress clarified the Four of Swords. So you're kind of healing the mental chatter and mental patterns that make it difficult for you to recognize your gut instinct. And it really is confirmed by that. I trust that my gut reaction is the truth underneath the surface of my fears. So, my darling creatives, this is a wonderful reading for you. You signed up for this. This is like we're starting the week on a bang. But if this resonated, feel free to like or subscribe. It's a free, very free way that you can support the channel and the work that I do. I feel very humbled and grateful to be, for Spirit to speak through me and through the cards in the way that it so often does. So that is, to me, is just wonderful. So it allows me to continue to do that when you like and subscribe. It helps me to also grow the channel. And furthermore, there are other ways that you can connect with me throughout the month, be it the weeklies, the dailies, the different astrological readings around energy and moons and all of that good stuff. And I've started to put up some timeless readings related to burning questions. And I also do creative unconscious shadow readings on Saturday, and have put up a varied offering of sort of adjacent content to the creative unconscious readings on Sundays. So on that note, I hope that you have a wonderful day, my dear creatives. And if this is where we part, have a good one. Thank you so much for your time and your eyes. Bye.